Okay, well, as you mentioned there, the Fukushima nuclear disaster has been an issue that's long been in the headlines in Japan, of course. And after months of preparation, a high-risk operation is set to begin this week as engineers extract the first of thousands of fuel rods from the wrecked Reactor 4 building. This delicate task is a major step on the long road to making the site safe after a powerful earthquake in 2011 sparked the worst nuclear disaster of the 21st century. In a bid to allay fears over the risky procedure, a handful of foreign journalists were invited onto the site last week, including our correspondent, Justin McCurry. Him, Marie Linton and William Bression gave us this report.
Days before the removal of spent fuel from Reactor 4 at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant was due to begin, foreign journalists were invited to view the preparations. Despite the risks, Tokyo Electric Power said it was confident it could remove the fuel rods without posing a danger to workers or to the wider region. This will be the first step in a decommissioning process that's expected to last at least 3 decades.
This isn't the first time we've done this. Workers often remove spent fuel from ordinary nuclear power plants. The equipment and method we'll be using aren't much different from those we use at other nuclear plants.
TEPCO recently released an animated film explaining how it plans to conduct the operation, which is expected to last more than a year. A specially built crane will be used to remove about 1,500 fuel assemblies, one by one. They'll then be placed in dry casks and transferred to a more secure storage pool nearby.
Storing it underwater shields any radiation from escaping, and keeping it here on the site avoids any need to transport it on roads or railways.
It's a huge challenge. The Unit 4 storage pool contains 264 tons of highly radioactive material. In March 2011, a hydrogen explosion ripped off the building's roof, exposing the spent fuel pool, located 100 feet above ground, to the elements.
The explosion sent debris into the air, and some of it landed in the Reactor 4 fuel pool. The original crane used to remove the fuel assemblies was damaged in the blast, so we had to build a new one. Those are the main differences between this and fuel extraction from an undamaged reactor building.
Anti-nuclear activists protesting outside TEPCO's headquarters in Tokyo are concerned. They fear that a powerful earthquake, human error, or bits of uncleared debris could cause the fuel assemblies to collide, or worse, expose them to the air. That could spark an accident even worse than the one that the plant suffered in March 2011.
What if they drop the spent fuel? It would release massive amounts of radiation. This is an unprecedented operation, so it's hard to imagine what could happen. I think they should at least evacuate nearby residents beforehand.
TEPCO, which is already battling leaks of radioactive water into the Pacific Ocean, is struggling to convince the public that it can handle this delicate operation alone. As a result, there are growing calls for international experts to be invited to supervise the removal of the fuel rods.
Okay, Justin, well, you could see some trepidation from people in that report about removing these fuel rods. Why are Japanese authorities deciding to do this now?
Well, the quickest answer is that despite the risks that we outlined in our film, this is probably the easiest part of the whole decommissioning process for TEPCO. It's done fuel removal many times before, although, of course, there are added complications. Now, we don't know exactly when it will start. We think it's going to be within the next 10 days, and it will take just over a year. But after that's completed, assuming that it's completed safely, TEPCO then has to move on to the melted fuel deep in the basements of 3 other reactors. Now, those reactors are still very highly radioactive. TEPCO has no idea exactly where the fuel is. So if anything, that's going to be a much bigger challenge than the fuel rod removal this month.
Okay, Justin McCurry in Japan, thanks very much for joining us for Age Alive here on France 24. All right, we're going to take a short break, but coming up, there's lots more in the next charge from Live from Paris with my colleague Stuart Norville. He'll be crossing to Manila to get the latest on Typhoon Haiyan's devastation, so do stay tuned for that.